We will begin. Good afternoon, and welcome to yet another installment of HW Alumni Act. And today we're Vanderbilt. And if you're doing a double take, it's probably because you saw our Hopkins call with Amy Cronenberg, and we're like, hey, I've seen this person before. Well, no, same year. This is her twin sister, Jenna, who's a Vanderbilt alum. How you doing, Jenna?
Pretty good. Yeah,
Good.
I'm at Vanderbilt right now, actually.
You're at Vanderbilt right now. What are you doing at
Yeah.
Vanderbilt?
I'm actually a grad student now, so I stuck around after my graduation. Yeah, so I'm still here.
Oh wow. So you've got not only HW alum, Vanderbilt, your Vanderbilt undergraduate experience is over with, but you kind of sort of kept the dream going and just chugged right along through graduate school, huh?
Yeah,
Nashville's
exactly.
solid too, though. I was there this summer. It's really good. Vanderbilt, of course, is gorgeous, which of course is why we do these calls of Vanderbilt, like the others. Some of these others are some of our most popular schools for HW students to apply and then matriculate to. So, any kind of guidance, insight, wisdom, experience you can give, we really, really appreciate. I guess we should start with a bit of an intro. So do you want to give, 60 seconds, 90 seconds, however long you want? You can go 10 minutes into your life if you want to. Just an
Yeah,
intro of who you are. And I guess I'll have a little surprise follow-up for you, one that you didn't see coming. There you go.
okay. So yeah, I am Jenna, and I was in the class of 2020 at Harvard Westlake. So I graduated during COVID, started college during COVID, class of 2024 at Vanderbilt. I applied into the School of Engineering and I graduated an electrical engineering major with a computer science minor. And now I'm a PhD student in electrical engineering. So I'm, yeah, going to be at Vanderbilt for a while. Um, but yeah, liked Harvard Westlake, applied to a lot of colleges. So I thought it would be a good experience to do this panel.
Good. So this is remarkable. So you're talking about the better part of a decade post high school is going to
Yes.
be Vanderbilt for you, right?
Yeah. 9 years. Yeah.
Well, obviously, first, congratulations on the PhD program. De-
Thanks.
Definitely going to have you in mind for our PhD in engineering. We have PhD science panel, but we're going to start a PhD in engineering panel because there are a few of you from Harvard Westlake who get their PhD.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic. Here's my curveball question, right? You're at Vanderbilt right now. What are we looking at? 518, something like that, 519
Hmm.
day afternoon. Like you're a PhD student at Vanderbilt. I know you're busy. I know you have a ton of stuff that you need to be doing, that you could be doing. Why are you doing this? Like I
Yeah,
reached
I
out.
mean, I guess I just thought it would be kind of fun. I also feel like it's nice to hear a perspective of somebody who's finished and um I took kind of a wide variety of classes and like none of my friends were in engineering, so I feel like I could talk on like a little bit of all the different things Vanderbilt has to offer. And I also feel like so few people go to the South. I mean, I know that there's schools in the South that are popular, like Emory or even Duke, but there's not that many Harvard Westlake people at Vanderbilt. And I think living in Nashville is so different that it's kind of a, I don't know, I'm happy to talk about it. So,
With us, it's Emory, Duke, Vanderbilt, and Rice that are in the South are the
right.
ones that um, our students tend to migrate to or at least apply to elite schools, all in their own right, all in their own regard. I think it's interesting that geographical thing. I'd love to talk about. I don't want to divert. I would have, if I had my way, Jenna, I would have every Harvard Westlake student, and you're one of them who applied. The 80% of you that applied to those same 10 schools or whatever. I would
Hmm.
have all of you go someplace in the South or someplace in the Midwest. All the Northeastern schools, and I just think about my own experience. I went to Penn. All the Northeastern schools, it's like a race to New York, and you get like
Right.
tunnels, and it's like I've got to get to New York. I've got to get to New York. Um, to the point where you're getting your PhD in engineering. I knew a ton of people who were engineering at Penn or who were Jerome Fisher, the award in engineering, and it was just like, yeah, like I'm gonna, pursue advanced studies, but I got to be in New York. And I'm like, why? Like, you don't have to. And it's, but, but that's just my own personal thing. I love the South. I love the Southeast, particularly. I think it's a really great place. It's like really up and coming part of the country too. When you think about where you are in Nashville, I think about that Raleigh Durham, the Research Triangle part.
Yeah.
It's huge. Like it's really, really nice and like really, really up and coming and really, really like less expensive than like LA, New York, and San Francisco, which is where most HW students concentrate, right?
Yes, yeah, for sure. No, I feel
And
like Nashville, it's something to think about because like people from Vanderbilt go all over the country when they
yep,
graduate. I feel like when I was applying to college, I wasn't necessarily that focused on like where I want to be after.
yeah,
And it is something to think about because like from Hopkins where my sister was at, like everyone went to New York or DC.
yep,
And from Vanderbilt, my friends are truly all over the place with a
yeah.
lot like I don't know, Raleigh, like you said, or Texas, Florida. So it's like just a different demographic for sure.
Exactly, exactly. Same
Mhm.
caliber of school, right? It's just the location where it's like you're not drawn to like DC or drawn
Right.
New York. You're drawn, and it expands horizons. I mean, these are all schools with international reputations that are going to get your foot in the door wherever you're applying, wherever you're thinking about doing. But it's always nice not to be in a rush. And again, I love my time. I spent 14 years in New York City. I love New York, but like it's I was like, yeah, you're kind of sort of like railroaded into doing not railroaded, but you're kind of sort of
It feels like
expected
the
to go
path.
into
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, you ready to get started?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll probably go for 20, 25 minutes. I don't see
Okay.
anybody I don't see anybody else on now, which is both good and bad for you in the sense that good, you'll probably get out early because there's no Q&A session.
Right.
But bad, people are going to look at this and they're going to have questions. So you might end up being bombarded by email and
That's
also by,
okay. I'll reply.
okay, that's what's up. Good. Okay. So our first question, what you kind of sort of gave this answer already, but maybe we can reiterate it just so we know. What
Okay.
was your school and major? And did you know going into college what your school or major was going to be? If you did, why was Vanderbilt the right choice? And if you didn't, why did Vanderbilt end up being the right choice for your school or major?
Yeah, so as I said, I applied into the School of Engineering and I did apply as an electrical engineering major, which is what I studied.
Mhm.
To me, I wanted to go to a mid-sized school in a city and I wanted to go to a school where I could study engineering, but that it wasn't the main focus. I wasn't convinced that engineering was going to be for me. And I felt like I was, 17, 18. Like I wanted there to be a wide variety of things that I could pursue if I decided engineering was not the right path. So I didn't want to go to like a technical school in that regard. So I liked that Vanderbilt kind of had a lot to offer, and it was, like a nice size. So that's kind of how I knew. I was really indecisive about what I wanted to study in terms of engineering. Like I did robotics at Harvard Westlake, but I didn't really get like a huge feel for like what avenue was like the right thing for me. So I kind of applied electrical, I feel like on a whim. And then I just liked the classes, so stuck it out.
Backed into it, huh?
Yeah.
That's always good. What were the how many when did you declare your major?
For the School of Engineering at Vanderbilt, you come in declared, but you
Come
can
in.
change pretty much for the first 2 years.
Mhm.
It gets really hard after that. Um, for everything else at Vanderbilt, you can declare at the end of your second year.
Yeah. Okay. Good. And where else were you thinking about applying?
Well, I applied to 22 schools
Oh, that's
and I applied early decision to Rice, which we mentioned earlier. So I kind of wanted to be in this area and I wanted,
yeah.
like this size of school and like D1 sports. Not that either
Mhm.
of those schools have particularly good sports. But I kind of applied all over the place after that point. Um, but they were mostly all like mid-sized schools and cities with sports and I was like afraid of cold weather. I was debating at the time between like Michigan, Tufts
Mhm.
here,
Yeah.
and they were just really cold. And
Yeah,
I'm from
it's
Los
gonna get
Angeles.
cold in Boston and
Yeah,
Ann Arbor. That's true. I'll
scared
tell you
me.
that. So Nashville's pretty temperate. That works, right?
Yeah, it's pretty
That,
nice. I feel like people think it's warmer than it is. Like it is actually pretty similar to like DC in terms of weather, but like it doesn't snow that often. When it does, it's like the world shuts down here.
yeah,
Um, so it's pretty nice throughout the year.
yeah, yeah. What do you think about? Well, you know what? I'll save that one for the
Okay.
next question. Although we're having like a nice kind of sort of free flowing conversation here, rather than a panel with set questions, but that's okay. Diversity, and I'm always interested in this, particularly because you all are from LA and
Yes.
you went to Harvard Westlake. Like it's like super duper diverse. Like where you're coming from. And then you're headed to the southeast, right? On the
Hmm.
East Coast and the Southeast general, it's more just I spent the first 40 years of my life in that part of the country before moving here. It's more black and white and like everybody else, as opposed to LA when I got out here, it really is like everybody else and then black and white. What was on that regard? I look at it, and then you're an engineer and you're a woman. And we've had various panels before where they talk about the mixes of the classes, male, female, people of color versus not. And so, what's diversity like both in the School of Engineering at Vanderbilt and then at Vanderbilt overall? And then, if you could talk about Nashville a little
Yeah, so I guess to start broader, Nashville is not diverse.
bit.
So it's very, very white. Um, there's very little minorities here in Nashville. So like if you're looking for a wide diversity of food or people or like you're really not going to find it here, although it is growing. I would say it's growing actually quite rapidly. My freshman year versus today is a very different city. But I think Nat Vanderbilt kind of reflects the environment that it's in and is definitely nowhere near as diverse as Los Angeles or as Harvard Westlake was. I want to say like the breakdown, it's like 50% white, and then
Yeah.
it kind of like disperses from that point on. So I would say it's like probably not your like most diverse experience. I can't really speak to that perspective, but I um, will say that some of my friends definitely found that challenging coming from places that were more diverse to a place like Nashville and a school like Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Um, that being said, there are like, every college, there's affinity groups and there's like definitely all the cultural groups that you can find. There's tons of them. And you can find the community you want here. I participate in a lot of the Jewish organization stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and that's been like really nice because like Nashville is like 1%, 0.1% Jewish or something. So it's like
Was gonna
very nice to
ask.
have this like Vanderbilt subset. That's
Yeah, I was going to ask about that too. Obviously, LA, Harvard, Westlake, large Jewish community.
yes.
Nashville, Tennessee, probably not as large, right?
Right. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like a very Christian city. So it's like a little bit of a culture shock, I think, from coming from LA to Nashville. But
Mhm.
Vanderbilt, I think, tries their best and is always like kind of definitely working in continuing to diversify as Nashville also becomes a much more diverse city in its growth. I will say that the School of Engineering is pretty good about the gender thing. Like my year, there were 36 people in my major. I want to say there were 7 girls, which is actually not that bad.
Yeah.
And
From the
um
stories I've heard, that's actually not
yeah,
that bad.
it's like pretty good. We had a nice community. But then this past year, the incoming freshman class in total, I don't know the electrical engineering breakdown, was like over 50% female. So it's
Wow.
definitely something they're like uh thinking about. Um and like the lab that I work in is like predominantly women. I mean,
Yeah.
my advisor's a man, but like all my pretty much everyone that works for him right now is a woman. So it's like yeah, pretty good, I would say for
That's
me.
not bad.
Yeah.
That's not bad. Yeah, we've had some your fellow alum who are at other schools, other Ivy plus kind of schools, they've been pretty vocal about how like not diverse when it comes to STEM stuff.
Yeah.
And uh almost as a rallying cry to get more people to come in, like cause a ruckus. So it's actually very interesting that Vanderbilt is. Rice was actually we talked with Felicity Failing on. Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. She was talking about Rice and her econ classes and how they were um, much better gender diversity wise than other her friends at other schools from Harvard Westlake who went. So that's interesting. Okay, questions 3 and 4 are the favorites of parents and students because they're kind of the how did you get in like types of questions, right? So I want you to think back, and this will be a long time for you, right? I want you to think back to after your sophomore year, at the summer after your sophomore year at Harvard Westlake, and the summer after your junior year. So this will be the summer before your junior year and summer before your senior year.
Okay.
What did you do those summers?
When I saw those questions in advance, I thought that was referring to college. When I
Everybody does.
was in After my sophomore year of high school, I did a program called Cosmos, which is through the University of California.
Oh yeah.
I did that at UC Davis.
Mhm.
It was like a month long. I did robotics and math, I think. It's actually
Uh,
really fun. I feel like now it doesn't sound that fun to me, but I remember having a really good time at the
Very,
time.
very highly regarded program. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Okay, so you
I
did
rem
Cosmos.
so I did that, and then after my junior year, I went on a Tufts University program where I
Mm.
stayed with a host family in France, and it was like studying international relations.
Okay.
Um, and I think it was called Tufts and Telwar, but
Uh-huh.
I could be getting that wrong. But yeah, or Tufts Summit actually was probably the name. So that's what I did. I think I really only did the Tufts program because I wanted to get into Tufts. But I really liked it. It was a great opportunity.
Yeah.
But I do feel like that's probably part of why I did it. Um, and the Cosmos program was a great opportunity too. It was also a good way to like see the UCs in action, taught by like University of California professors. Um, so it's
And
a good experience.
it's really good that you brought that up, and I take that with students all the time. Now that you're on the other side and probably know those types of those programs at universities, they pretty much have no bearing whether you'll
Yeah,
get
at all.
in the
Yeah.
university. Now, what it can do is help you in the essay, the personal statement, the I fell in love with Tufts campus. I fell in
Yes.
love with the UC Davis campus when I went to,
And you got
the
to meet
event.
students who went
Yeah,
there. So you could be like, oh, like I met these tough students and I felt like it was
exactly.
my community, that kind of
Exactly.
thing.
Now
Yeah.
you're jumping the gun to our next question, but generally that's how it's still there. Even I think you applied 5 years ago. It's
Hmm.
kind of sort of the same. How your identity affects the community that you're about to enter, with some demonstration of some sort of professional experience, usually after either your sophomore or junior year, that shows, that demonstrates, that impact on the community. That's generally where it is. As I talk with college admissions officers. And then, of course, those of you who have been newly admitted from 2019 through 2024 and who've been gracious enough to, lend your essays, right? Lend your personal statements to the schools where you attended. So that is generally where it is. And I think it's also interesting. So you didn't have like you did 2 academic programs. You didn't have like the professional like internship experience going in. Also valuable for those of us who are watching. Many different ways, right? Jenna's and Vanderbilt, many different ways to solve that riddle with college being the looming elephant in the forefront, right? You don't need prestigious professional internships. You did 2 very, highly regarded academic programs, but still academic programs, and it worked out just fine.
Yeah. I honestly don't really know what you could do as an intern in high
High
school.
school.
I feel like, but I think it would maybe deter me from industry because
Yeah.
you would know so little and it would
Yeah.
maybe not be as fulfilling as later on.
Yeah.
Not to deter My sister, I think, did an internship at a
Yeah.
dermatology clinic, so I'm not deterring anyone from doing it. I don't know if I would have liked it at the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, unfortunately, again, your alma mater. It's becoming an increasingly large part of the college puzzle, right?
Interesting.
The profile outside, yeah, the
Oh,
professional profile that's being built. So that's where we are. For better or for worse, at 16 or 17, you kind of sort of want to have some idea of what you want to do. Colleges want to know at least. Well,
That's
the
scary.
colleges that you all like to go to. Want to know at least then, right? We'll put it that way. And that leads us directly into question four. If you are comfortable sharing, and so far everybody has been, so not to put the pressure on you, you want to share your Vanderbilt statement and then like your Common
Ooh.
App statement. What your Common App essay? What did you write about?
My Common App essay was about that I like doing crossword puzzles. I don't necessarily think it was like the most creative of essays, but I liked it at the time. I still
Yeah.
do the crossword every day.
Yeah.
And my Vanderbilt statement, I'm actually not really sure what else I talked about in the Common App essay. I think it was like just doing the crossword puzzle and it showed I was like in problem solving or something.
Yeah.
Um, my Vanderbilt essay was kind of a mishmash of other essays. Vanderbilt was kind of a school I applied to at the end of it wasn't on my original list. Um, so I'm not 100% sure. I think I maybe wrote about dance. It was like about when you were a leader, and maybe I wrote about doing dance at Harvard Westlake, but I'm not 100% confident in that. Um, or I wrote about being a twin. Those were the two topics I kind of straddled between
Yeah.
in most of my essays. But I'm not really sure that the essay like I don't know. I guess you want to be well-rounded, but I don't really know if anyone's essays like seal the deal or not. I'm not a
Yeah.
college admissions counselor, but
It's
I
yeah,
never really
exactly.
understood the
That's
point.
why we ask. It's gonna be all parts of it, right?
Mm,
Obviously, GPA, SAT, um, and then generally the why I care about it works is because it's that third piece of it, right? It's
right.
how your identity, how it affects your community you're about to join. And generally, they want you to demonstrate that or show some evidence of that with the experiences that you've had. Normally, it's after junior year now,
Mm,
but sometimes you can include sophomore year if you felt that it was more meaningful, or if you felt that it was, more pertinent to what it is that you want to study in school. So that's why I ask these questions. And no, most of the time, you'll see when there are people like they're literally writing notes, is what you say. Gonna want to know Cosmos they should know about. They're gonna want to know about the Tufts program, right? Um, it's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah. No, I
Uh,
remember doing it, so it was definitely it felt like life or death at the time. So
I
I
was gonna say, can you?
yeah.
I would probably have you save that for the end. The message to seniors. I spoke a couple of weeks ago in Rob Levin's, Mr. Levin's Business of Life class, and we were just talking about college. And this is now my third year here at HW, and it is tight-lipped. People are nervous. People
Mhm.
are anxious. I'm hearing their spreadsheets anticipating where people are applying
Oh,
to
that's
get.
crazy. I remember that. That's insane.
People are trying to, figure out what their chances are based upon hypotheticals of their classmates. And I'm like, you guys are wild. Like this is remarkable. So I'll hopefully you'll be able to give them some message with some levity or some hope and some tranquility because it's with us. I mean, you've lived it. We are in
Yes,
late
yeah.
October for our seniors. It is right? Um, and so our final question, and I think it's a big one. I think you can especially speak to it because of the path that you've taken about is about Vanderbilt, but you can include Harvard Westlake in this also because I think it's important. I hear from a lot of alums they feel so ready, like you all are at really elite schools, but you feel so ready academically because of some things that Harvard Westlake prepared you for. So when you think about HW, when you think about Vanderbilt, do you think they've done an adequate job or a good enough job in preparing you for life and or career after those institutions? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely feel like coming from Harvard Westlake, I was incredibly prepared in a way that my peers were not, coming into college. I remember my freshman year chem class, like everybody failed the first exam, and I feel like compared to AP Chem, which actually killed me in high school, it was like absolutely nothing.
They're still talking about it today, Jen. They're
Oh,
still
that
talking
class
about it.
was
Yeah.
terrible. Um, And I just felt like my friends who, ended up getting it together, it was a tougher transition than I had coming from Harvard Westlake, which I'm very thankful for. And I do feel like Vanderbilt has prepared me to enter the real world. I've interned every summer, and I feel like those have all been generally successful. And when I decided I wanted to get a PhD, it wasn't necessarily because I didn't feel like, ready to work, but I just wanted to continue to learn more. I felt like I was able to, I have a great advisor in my program here who I feel like is going to be able to guide me to whatever point I decide I want to go after this. And I feel like the skills, Vanderbilt's not a particularly like technical university. Like I would say that the downside to doing engineering at a non-technical institution is that you don't necessarily get those same hands-on experiences. Like it's a very small engineering school here.
Yeah,
It's not Georgia Tech, like it's going to be a different experience.
sure.
But I still feel like I had incredible faculty. I kind of fell into like this really niche research field that Vanderbilt is like special in, and um I just feel like it's like led me to like a kind of nice path. Um and I think it's interesting because had I gone to a different college, I never would have heard of this field of study and I would have probably done something else. And it's just interesting how life works out. But I feel like it prepared me pretty well um for whatever my next point is. Um And I definitely feel like Harvard, I still feel like I study, I do my homework in the manner that I did in high school. Like I feel like at a young age, I was able to learn like good time management skills, but definitely a lot of people learn in college. And I think coming from Harvard Westlake, you definitely learn it in high school. Um, but also Vanderbilt's a very like fun school. So I think it gives you a good balance of like how to prioritize your schoolwork so you can then participate in things outside. I will say like my one grievance with being an electrical engineering major here at a school where the most popular major is human and organizational development, which like by comparison, I think that degree is like 60 credit hours to graduate or to graduate that major. It's still like 120 whatever to for commencement, but like my major is 120 credit hours, like just in classes in electrical engineering alone. So I definitely felt sometimes like, oh, being an electrical engineer like took away from the other things I could participate in just because I had so much class.
Yeah.
Um, but I still feel like because of that, I was able to like learn how to better prioritize things. Like I can get things done so I can do other things. And I think those skills come both from Harvard Westlake and from things I've learned in college. But
What made you decide for PhD in engineering?
I kind of wasn't sure like what I wanted to do. I fell into this research field of radiation effects engineering, which I won't go too far into the details of, but I then interned first at Northrop Grumman and then at SpaceX, and I felt like my managers and stuff had advanced degrees. So I felt like eventually I would want an advanced degree.
Sure.
And I also felt kind of like when you graduate with a bachelor's degree as an engineer, you're not necessarily doing like that much of the thinking. Like it's a lot of building things, and that stuff can be really fulfilling. And I will do a lot of that throughout my PhD program. But I wanted to feel like I was prepared to like one day lead a project. And I like to think that through a PhD program, you learn skills to solve any problem. Um, and I feel like I just wanted to like learn these problem solving skills. And as I said, I had a really good advisor. I think that's like the key to a good PhD program. So I like knew my advisor from undergrad. Um, so I like kind of knew what I was going to get myself into. I also wasn't necessarily sure where in the country I wanted to eventually end up. And so like even if I end up in California, I'm happy that I'm gonna have 5 more years here in Nashville to like live somewhere else before I eventually probably go home. Um, but yeah, my program's nice because I can intern every summer. So like it very much is like the school calendar. And I also will say in terms of getting a PhD, like it's not a 9 to 5. Like I work whatever hours I want. Like even if I have a lot of work, like it's still on like my schedule. I get to travel for my labs, like that's very fun. Go to conferences.
Yeah.
Um, and then eventually I like whether I do academia, which is another reason why I just don't want to like limit. I wanted to feel like, oh, I could be a professor if I wanted to or something. Um, so that was kind of my decision making. But mostly I just wanted to like have a greater understanding of what I was doing, and I felt like I could learn that in school.
Deal. Thank you. I think you're making a sound decision. There won't be a Q&A, so this is an opportunity, and I'll close out the call with the contact information. Jenna's on the platform. She's also on LinkedIn. You can reach her that way. Now, this is where you really get to do your good deed. And this is for, obviously, we have a lot of high schools and a lot of parents who are listening all, but um, I really want to do this for the seniors who are going to see right now. Any words of advice, any closing commentary, any insight that you can share with them in this process would be ideal.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I did it and I was crazy at the time, so I'm not judging anybody for being like that. But looking back on it, I would definitely not apply to 22 schools. That was crazy. I didn't want to go to all of them, to be honest. I just then I got rejected from schools and I was sad and I never would have wanted to go there. Um, so I wouldn't recommend that. And I also feel like it can really feel like the end of the world. Like I remember when I didn't get into my ED, I was like truly devastated. And ultimately, had I went to Rice, I would have been working in oil and gas because I was in, Houston, and it's just like now I'm, it's such a different path and it like really did work out. And I remember my mom saying it was all going to work out and I was so mad at her. And I really feel like it did work out. So yeah, I feel like there's this, like insane pressure and you worked so hard for it and it really just doesn't matter. Like college is fun and it's interesting no matter where you go because everybody's gonna go somewhere great. You can learn a lot and meet great people. Um, but yeah, I would say mostly just don't apply to 22 schools. Um, but yeah, no, I feel
That's
like
what
it's so stressful and it really shouldn't be. It all works out.
I
So,
love how you were like, I was sad about not getting in places I didn't
no, I was there. I applied to these tiny schools on the Northeast that I didn't want to go to, and I then was so upset when I was rejected because I just remember being devastated about it, and I was like, now especially, I was like, I would have hated going there. Like, I hate cold weather, um, and small. I didn't want like the smallness. My brother went to a liberal arts college. I didn't want that. So I just like I don't know why I applied, but I felt like I was never going to get in, so I had to apply everywhere. And I just wouldn't recommend that to new people.
Telling people stories. I talk with kids. I'm applying to 25 schools. I'm like, why are you doing that? It's like,
Yeah,
I need
I
to,
just it feels like you have to, but you
yeah.
definitely don't. You definitely don't. So I wouldn't.
What liberal arts school did your brother go to?
He went to Pomona.
Gonna next year, we do liberal arts schools. So
Okay.
the ones that HW students tend to go to. So we're definitely going to Pomona is definitely one that's highlighted. So I'll probably be talking to yet another Cronenberg to see
Yeah,
if he
maybe.
join the panel. Jenna, thank you so much for lending us your time, your expertise, your insight, your soothing words for our seniors. Again, Jenna's on the platform, so you'll be able to contact her that way. She's also on LinkedIn. If there isn't anything else, it's just you and I, so we can actually close out. There's no going to be no Q&A.
Sounds good.
All right.
Um,
Thank you again. I really
Anytime.
appreciate it. Take care.
Okay, bye.